What's up, folks? Stu Myrick, the Horn, sports guys talking wrestling, and I'm in a t-shirt and shorts because if you live in Texas, you know the saying, if you don't like the weather in Texas, wait 5 minutes, or in this case, a week. Last week at this time, I believe the temperature in Austin was 15, 16 degrees. Coldest we have felt in ages. I can tell you right now, at 7:30 p.m. Central, the temperature in Austin is 70 degrees, and it's clear sky. Yeah. That's the way it works. We've been off the last couple weeks. Justin was traveling for some play-by-play duties. And then, of course, last week, the snowpocalypse of 2021, which froze him out. And he'll talk about it when he gets here. But apparently he lost power. I think he lost water. The whole city of Austin was on a boil water notice up until today. I luckily did not lose power. In fact, did a podcast on, Thursday? By the way, huge thanks to Dave LaGreca from SiriusXM's Busted Open for joining me, as well as Sheamus from the WWE. So we were able to crank out a podcast last week, even if, no radio show. And no radio show, we were supposed to be on the air. The problem was the radio station shut down until Wednesday they finally came back on the air about 6 p.m. Central. The radio station, our studios, which if you know Austin, is down in the Westlake area, 360 Bee Caves. The studios lost power. So the Horn lost power, Coke FM lost power, 105.3 The Bat lost power. We have a backup generator, but it froze over. So we were dead. We were dead air for the better part of 3 days. And on top of that, we had people staying there, for being on the air. Chad Hastings was there from Shirts and Skins. Brad Kellner was there from Triple Option. Isaiah Collier, who's the producer for Buccaneer, and Snoop Daniel, who produces Light the Tower and also does Flex ATX. Plus, I think Eric Raines was there from Coke FM, a couple other people from Coke FM. It was just surreal, and they stayed there until Friday. I know Chad went home Friday after his show, so I suspect it was that way for a lot of them because, again, pretty much all of Austin was frozen over. The entire city of Austin shut down, and we've joked about this, about if there was ever however much, an inch or two. Imagine getting 6 inches of snow in Austin, Texas, a place that, if we see snow, it's a dusting, maybe half an inch, if we're lucky. In fact, I saw a stat. So our official measuring spot is Camp Mabry in Austin. So officially at Camp Mabry, they measured 6.4 inches of snow. It was the 4th highest, which actually surprised me. It's only number 4. 4th highest daily accumulation. However, we got more snow on Sunday and Monday. We had more snow in those 2 days than the previous 20 years combined. So that tells you what this was. And that's on top of some freezing rain and sleet that fell before the snow, on top of some freezing rain that fell after the snow. It was unlike I did a video for the Horns YouTube channel, ended up putting it on ours, where I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe that I was standing in Austin, Texas, and the snow was up to my ankles. And it shut the city down. It really did. I mean, there was, again, we're not, we don't expect things like that. And that's kind of the thing, that was one of the things with the whole electricity rolling outages and ERCOT and the people that kind of regulate the power grid in Texas. They kept saying they were ready for it, and they were ready for it. Well, they're supposed to be ready for anything, but I'll be honest that I would venture to guess. I would say conservatively, at least 80% of Austin was not ready for something like that. Again, I was lucky. I had power. Didn't have to worry about water or food. Had plenty of food. That was the other thing. Grocery stores were shut down because they couldn't get stock because the trucks couldn't make it in because the roads were bad. In fact, I went to the grocery store on Sunday, and I live about 90 seconds from an H-E-B. I walk in, and the bread aisle is completely empty. Produce there was some oranges and a few other things, and some prepackaged stuff, but nothing fresh. It was, and that was the thing. The staff at the store were busy, and this was I walked in there around 11 a.m., noon, and the staff were stocking as fast as they could. Whatever they had, they put it on the shelves. And I saw people that I usually see at the checkout stands and people behind the customer service counter. I mean, they had everybody. Anybody that could grab a box, they were in an aisle stocking shelves. So, again, luckily I didn't need much, and I could do without a couple things for a while. So, all in all, it just an absolutely surreal experience here in Austin for for a once in a lifetime event. And that's the thing. I'm really tired of these once in a lifetime events. We start 2020 with a global pandemic. Now we're starting 2021 with what has to be the worst winter in generations in Austin. And the winter weather, it wasn't just Texas. It cut a huge swath through the central United States. I have cousins that live in Little Rock, Arkansas. They had a foot of snow. Now, I think they're probably a little more used to it there than we are here. So, but talking about, freezing temperatures, it was below freezing on South Padre Island. South Padre Island never gets below freezing, even in the dead of winter. I've been there. I went there in December for a high school football playoff game. It was like 75 degrees. I mean, it was wonderful. So, but we have survived. And, again, things are getting back to normal. COVID normal, I should say. Grocery store shelves are stocked. I think most of the power outages have been restored. Water is back. Now that's another thing. A lot of places have burst pipes and everything, so that's got to be fixed. A lot of plumbers are going to make a lot of money over the next few months. It's going to be a real good time to be a plumber in the state of Texas. So, it was just absolutely weird and wild, and who knew, So, so when Justin gets here, and he's running a little late, and this isn't the usual late. This is actually, he's been off for the last couple weeks. So, we'll talk Elimination Chamber. The Miz is your new WWE champion. The reaction to that has been hilarious, actually. We'll talk about what we saw on SmackDown. We'll talk about what we saw on Raw. We'll talk AEW, Ring of Honor, some other things. It's but it just it's hard to put into words. I mentioned on the video the last time I remember walking around with snow up to my ankles was in Minneapolis in, I guess it would have been 2018 for Super Bowl 52. I was there to anchor the Horns coverage for the Super Bowl that year. And it was, it's Minneapolis, though. You expect that. Although I do remember walking in the media center, which was the Mall of America, and that's a whole nother story. Walk in, and, every Super Bowl host committee always gets a bunch of volunteers, and they're greeters and stuff. It's kind of like walking in Walmart. So you get a lot of local residents that end up being greeters. So I walk in, this young lady, greeted me, and so I walked up to her. I said, "Is this is normal for you guys, right?" I think it was -7 that morning. It's the first time in my life I'd ever experienced negative temperatures. So I walk in. I asked her, "Is this normal for you guys? The minus below zero?" And she goes, "Oh yeah." And I pulled out my phone. I think it was like 60 in Austin that day. And I said, "This is my normal." And she looked at me like, "Oh, my God." So, that was the other thing. All the stuff I bought for that trip, as well as, a few years back, I went to Steamboat, Colorado for a ski trip. So I got to use all that stuff this past week. Stayed warm. Like I said, I never lost power. They asked us to conserve, so I had the heat down to, I think at one time, I had down to 65, and, so it was it wasn't uncomfortable. It was just a little chilly. I feel for everybody that had no power, houses got down to like in the 50s and 40s, and they're sitting on their couch and, got 3 layers and all that good stuff. So, yeah, it's been a wacky week. I'm trying to think a couple other things that happened last week. There was, they had, all these accidents that are happening on the major highways in Texas. The big 100+ vehicle accident up in Fort Worth. And it was on I-35W, right near where I turned, when you turn to get on I-30 to go to AT&T Stadium. So that spot, and it's a little bit of a hairy spot, even in normal conditions, just because you got a lot of traffic going through there. You're heading into downtown, or in the heart of Fort Worth, and there's been construction up there for quite some time. So, you feel for those people. You feel for the people that got stuck on the toll roads. All the toll roads were closed here because of the weather. It was, I didn't get out in my car. I went down once to turn the car over just to make sure it still worked. Plus, I was checking the radio station signal. Otherwise, I did not drive all week. In fact, I didn't drive until, I guess it would have been Friday afternoon. I went out to lunch. It was like in the 40s. Went to my favorite Korean restaurant, Charm Barbecue, free plug, Charm Barbecue on I-35 right at Howard. They were one of the few restaurants that was open and, serving. So, hey, good on me. That's the other thing. Things like Whataburger. The drive-through line for Whataburger wrapped around the restaurant a couple times and went out. It was nuts because you couldn't go inside. They didn't have water, so they didn't have fountain drinks. So it's, just nutty. So it's something I will never forget. something I hope I never see again. But the way things have been going here lately, who knows? Who knows? So, let's see what else. What else? As I said, we'll talk Chamber. We'll talk stuff from Raw. Randy Orton getting Papa Shango'd with the black goo. Every time they said black goo, I kept thinking of what's the old Fox series with David Duchovny, X-Files, because they had the black goo that would come in the eyes to say they were either they become an alien or something. But yeah, just nuts. So we're awaiting the arrival of Mr. Simmons. He's supposed to be on his way. We will see. Sorry for vamping here while we're waiting. I don't even know. We got anybody on? Anybody watching us right now? Let's see. 2 people apparently. All right. So hello to those of you watching us on YouTube. Hello. Oh, what else? Lot of stuff. Lot of sporting events, of course, got canceled last week because of the weather. Of course, we're the part of the Longhorn station, so a lot of Longhorn sports, basketball and baseball, got pushed to, I think, at least at the earliest this week. So, in fact, we won't be on the Horn tomorrow night because it's baseball. I think it's BYU tomorrow night. Yes, Longhorns play baseball. It's against BYU tomorrow night, so that will be on the air instead of us. Got a couple other preemptions coming up. We're going to try to make some workarounds. This way, but we're going to try. There's a couple preemptions right around WrestleMania weekend. We're going to try to see if we can come on another night on the Horn to talk WrestleMania, and hopefully we get some more interviews by then. The WrestleMania picture it's not clear. It's still not clear by any means, but we've got a couple of nuggets. We know that Roman and Edge will, and that was kind of, that's been talked about for a while, but it was made official. Edge is going to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. So we know that's going to happen. I don't know that we have any of the matches set, although you might be able to draw a few lines. We'll see what happens. You figure Orton and, oh, God love us, a crispy Fiend, a burnt-up Fiend. We think he's going to make his return, so it'll probably be the Fiend and Orton at WrestleMania. We don't know where Drew McIntyre fits into the WWE Championship picture now that he's lost the title to The Miz. Miz and Bobby Lashley meet next week. Braun Strowman shows up out of the blue, and he was going to have a shot, but he couldn't beat Bobby Lashley, so he's not in the picture. Because Shane McMahon got involved, and there was a couple other interactions they've had, the speculation right now is, and I think a lot of people are kind of like, oh my God, not this. Shane versus Braun, which, okay, sure, but other than that, not really, there's still not a whole lot of clarity when it comes to WrestleMania. Will we see something? They've got Fastlane coming up. I think they said March, whatever that third weekend, that third Sunday, fourth Sunday, whatever. Let me see. That would be, as I pull up the handy-dandy calendar, March 21st. Should be Fastlane. So, we'll see what happens as they build towards that pay-per-view, which is the last stop before WrestleMania. And, yeah. So, They're starting to finally make mentions about WWE Network moving to Peacock. So Fastlane apparently will be available both on the WWE Network and on Peacock. So that tells me that the network will still be around, but WrestleMania will exclusively be on Peacock, which I would suspect that's a deal. So sometime in the last 2 weeks of March, WWE Network will officially go away, and oh my God, Justin just texted me. Almost there, had to turn around. We'll explain. Okay, well, that's lovely. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh heck, I just forgot. Peacock. So we suspect sometime in the latter 2 weeks of March, WWE Network will finally go away, and you will have to sign on to Peacock, which is NBC Universal streaming service. I read an article today about towards the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, we saw, for instance, I think it was it Friends and The Office were taken off their respective streaming sites. They're now exclusive to Peacock, so that may help drive subscribers up a little bit, which could help, and then you'll see, get interested in some of the other things they have. Like I saw a promo there. It's Punky Brewster, except she's grown up now. It's the same girl, Lemon Fry, except now it's one of these, kind of like what they did with Full House and then Fuller House. Basically the same concept. Punky Brewster's grown up. She has kids of her own. She's navigating life as a single mom. So, and there's a tie because I think it's Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss are both going to make appearances on the show. We hope it's Alexa Bliss, not creepy teenage, playground Alexa. Which, whatever. I got my own thoughts on that one. That's one of the things I like to avoid, just like Retribution. Avoid talking about them. So, because it's just silliness. So, what else? Happy 19th anniversary to Ring of Honor Wrestling. I think they said it was 19 years ago today. I got to check. It was either yesterday or today that they had their very first event at the Rec Center, 2/23/2002. It was at that Rec Center in, I forget, Maryland. So, and this is to, of course, promote their 19th anniversary pay-per-view, which will happen March 26th on pay-per-view and Honor Club. Some interesting. So it'll be interesting to see what develops from that. What else? I'm trying not to talk too much because I want. I want to save a lot of this. Yeah, that's the other thing. I haven't watched a lot of Impact lately because, we were usually doing stuff during Impact. Oh, hold on. Breaking. Scott D'Amore has sanctioned the TNA World Heavyweight Championship as an official world championship. I guess that just happened on Impact. So now they have the Impact World title and the TNA World title. Okay. Well, that's just interesting. Let's see what else we got going. Former, is this Ty Valkyrie must have reported to the Performance Center? Yep. This is Mike Johnson, PW Insider. Ty Valkyrie, the longest reigning Impact Wrestling Knockouts champion in history, officially reported to the WWE Performance Center today. PWInsider.com has confirmed. So, and as you know, she is married to John Morrison, who is currently on Monday Night Raw. So, they're now together in all sorts of weather. Let's hope they don't see the cold weather like what we saw. Let's see what else. Maybe I see what else I can see on. Oh, awesome. Bit of sports news. Sam Ellinger, the now about to be former quarterback for the Texas Longhorns, won the Jace Witten Collegiate Man of the Year award. Very cool. Congratulations to number 3. He deserves it. Did a lot of good stuff on campus, off campus. So, oh yeah, if you did not hear, again, we are sports guys talking wrestling, so a little bit of sports falls in as Justin Simmons comes in. If you did not hear, Tiger Woods was in a accident, pretty bad car accident today in Los Angeles. This is from ESPN. Sources told ESPN that Woods has crush injuries on both lower legs, one of which was a compound fracture. So, what's up, Justin?
But he'll have the best doctors in the world working on him. So,
well, he's got a lot of money. He can afford it. So we'll see. See how long it takes him to recover. So you've thought out.
Man, luckily, I mean, we're making jokes. But, I mean, I slipped and fell. I was like, I know other people that slipped and fell because the ice was really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially on those painted areas when trying to cross streets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm still feeling it. Who do I sue? The city of Austin or what? Because
sue ERCOT. Everybody's suing ERCOT. Why not?
Because I was like, man, my back still hurts. And I was like, more kudos to all the professional wrestlers out there because, sometimes we take it for granted, some of those bumps. And I was like, that one definitely was a hard one. And luckily, I know how to fall. That's where the professional wrestling training does come into play.
Right.
So I didn't have to, sustain a concussion, and I didn't, fracture anything that I know of. But some other people weren't so lucky. Some people, I saw some people fall down around the neighborhood, and, I think somebody might have broken their arm.
This wasn't your reaction, was it?
No.
Okay, good. You didn't hurt your hole?
No, it's all lower back. I said, I took, the Ric Flair style bump, kind of one-sided.
I just need an excuse to play the Nia Jax, so.
I'm sure we could have found a better one though. It's in the hole.
I didn't play it last week.
You didn't even use it last week?
We didn't. I was so involved with LaGreca, and it's been a long time since he and I talked. So, we were just
no time for the hole, huh?
No time for the hole. But well, I'm glad you're at least upright. I'm glad you're not frigid. You did lose it. You did lose power, correct?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't.
When has it come back on?
Yeah, I got it back relatively early, but I mean, I was still 50-something hours without power. I know other people didn't get it, back until later, or had power for less, didn't have power for more time.
Right.
4 or 5 days, and some people didn't have hot water, and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have to suffer through too much of that, but still, I mean, This is America. That should never happen.
You're right. It shouldn't, and it's horrible that it did. I thank the good Lord I did not lose power. Did not lose water except for the complex, the apartment complex where I live. They shut the water off just to save the pipes.
Did that work?
I guess so, because, I haven't seen anything crazy. We've been on the water notice. Well, that got lifted today. So as things stand, I came out pretty unscathed.
Oh, yeah. We should have switched places because you're the Boy Scout, not me.
I offered you to come over.
Dude, it was icy. After I fell, I wasn't going anywhere.
I did the same thing to Eddie. I think Eddie lives a little closer to me. Eddie Cross, our good friend from Fight Night, he lives a little closer, and I offered it to him too.
And I couldn't. And I live in an old house, like a 70-year-old house. I was trying to make sure, just in case something bursted, I was there.
Right. Yeah.
And luckily, nothing really seriously happened because there's trees that hang over the house.
Oh yeah.
And they're big, old. You're just like,
and
man.
They're getting weighed down by all that ice. The tree that's right outside my living room window.
Did it come down?
It didn't come down, and the limbs looked okay, although you could see them getting a little lower.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think it was okay. Nothing. So, we lost some limbs on some trees around here, but it wasn't anything too serious.
So crazy. This time last week, I had no power.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. Today, I put something on Instagram where I went from, we went from 9 degrees last Tuesday morning to, I posted that right around 11:30 a.m. and it was 70 degrees.
Yeah, it's all we went from Winnipeg, Canada to the temperature near Tampa Bay, Florida last week.
Yeah. I mean, just nuts. Just nuts. So again, I'm just
your whole
hearts go out to everybody that has been having problems. Hopefully most of you have gotten past it and come out on the other side. And I know they're still handing out water at a bunch of places, and there's still some outages. And I mentioned earlier, plumbers are going to make a whole lot of money this month.
I know.
For the next couple months.
I was just thinking about what I should have gotten into. And I was like, apparently plumbing would have been the big ticket item this week.
What's funny is, so those of you who don't know, I work my regular job, the job that pays me so I can do all the other fun stuff. I work in state government, and I work for a regulatory agency.
Oh, it's your shoot job.
I'm always nervous about using that term, but yes, my shoot job. So I got a call. I got 2 calls today wondering about, because Governor Abbott, the governor of Texas, declared that they were going to bring 300 some odd plumbers that had let their license lapse. They were going to waive the requirements to let them renew it. But they were trying to figure out who to contact. And they thought it was the agency I worked for. Because there was a time when they were talking about bringing the regulation of plumbers to our agency. But that didn't happen. So as of now, they are still their own little tiny independent agency. So I said, no, you need to contact Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners. Here's their phone number. So, I got to imagine they're getting swamped with, I need to renew my license and I need to do this and all that good stuff. So should be, it'll be interesting.
Well, I mean, if they want in on the money, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, all right, let's crank this thing up. See if we know how to do this thing again. It's been a while. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, good seeing you, Stu.
This is Montel Vontavious Porter, MVP, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
When they're not covering the sports world, they're talking about the world of professional wrestling.
It's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Now, with Justin Simmons, here's Stu Myron.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling has finally thawed out. Stu Myrick, and joining me for the first time in a few weeks, my tag team partner, Justin Smithers.
Hey, Stu. So, let's be honest here. Whose beard looks better?
Mine still.
Still?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think we should let the people on YouTube decide.
Yeah, our friends on YouTube. We are not on the horn this week. Texas Baseball is playing BYU. So, podcast and YouTube only this week. So,
It's okay. You're
which
the lucky
means we
ones.
don't have quite as many time restrictions, too. We can go a little longer. So,
But why would we? Because we would just end up like Monday Night Raw.
if there was ever a week that exemplified why Monday Night Raw does not ever need to be 3 hours, it was last night. That was that show last night wasn't almost even enough for 2 hours, much less 3.
I know they were stretching.
Oh my God, they were stretching. Let's start with Elimination Chamber first. Your reaction to The Miz becoming the WWE champion, finally cashing in.
Wait. I think it'd be more interesting is like, you want my reaction. I think the more interesting question is, what do you think my reaction is?
I'll be honest, I don't know.
You don't know at all.
I really don't.
Oh, you know I love this.
Okay, and I wanted
it's-
to lean that, but
And it's funny because I saw what the WWE posted on their social media.
right.
What was it? Or later last week.
Mm-hmm.
The one, do you recall your first WWE event? Live event?
Oh yeah, because I answered that. Yeah.
Yeah, yours was what, the Mark Henry Raw debut?
Mark Henry in March of '96 in San Antonio.
Yeah, my first while I've been watching it a long time, and obviously I was swept up in the Attitude Era, I didn't have like older brothers that were going to take me to go see Raw
Right.
and drive 3 or 4 hours to get there because they weren't coming
Exactly.
down to where I lived for a Raw or a SmackDown at that time. But I did get to go to the 2007 Royal Rumble, the 2007 Royal Rumble that was in San Antonio. And the great part about that, I'll make it short. We ran into, me and my buddy, I took I-10 back by mistake because I didn't know what I was doing. And we stopped at like this TNA stop or whatever. And it turned out to be the same stop that it was Joey Mercury, Cherry from Deuce and Domino,
Oh yeah,
and then The Miz.
and The Miz.
And that was the year that The Undertaker won the Rumble, but The Miz got tossed out like in 4 or 5 seconds.
Mhm.
And like a real mark, I remember going up to him and being like, "Hey man, it's all good. That's not vindicative of what your potential will be, and you're still living the dream, And I legitimately meant that part though. I was like, "Yo man," because you could kind of see he was a little down.
Yeah.
So how poetic that I remember that memory, and
Yeah.
now here he is, WWE champion again.
Again, second time. The only what did they say? The only 2-time Grand Slam champion in WWE history.
Yeah, the only one to complete the Grand Slam twice.
Yes. In other words, yeah.
The modern Grand Slam.
Modern Grand Slam. So, look, I thought it was, you could see it coming, especially after they took a long time after Drew pinned, who was it? I got it right here. I should see. Pinned AJ Styles. They took a while, so it's like, okay, they're vamping, and sure enough, here comes Bobby Lashley, beats the ever-loving snot out of him, and then here comes The Miz. So it's like, okay, sure.
But that's how it's supposed to happen.
It's the way it's supposed to happen. It's one of those things. It's kind of funny. There's, and you know this as well as I do, there is a segment of the wrestling fandom that seems, I don't know, too cool for school. Is that a good way to put it? They don't want to give it to guys like The Miz because they didn't come up through the independent ranks, and
I wasn't.
or guys like, same thing with Randy. It's almost the same reaction with Randy Orton, because Orton came up through the WWE system and all that good stuff.
I don't
and
understand.
you got a lot of people. You got a lot of people that, for instance,
Who are these people?
People were pissed because Cesaro got eliminated, which I would have loved to see Cesaro.
Well, yeah, of course people are going to be disappointed in a guy like Cesaro getting eliminated just because he's like Daniel Bryan. He's like your favorite wrestler's wrestler.
Yes.
He's
Right.
if we were talking about music, he would be like the best singer-songwriter that's going on right now. He's just not the most popular.
Right.
Not necessarily with the crowd, but with the people that make the decisions on who becomes stars.
So, like I said,
But no doubt he put in good performance. So.
He did. It was a fantastic performance. I chuckled at it. It is funny though how upset people got over the Miz becoming champion. Which, look, guys, they're trying to set up for WrestleMania, which, by the way, we don't know. We know one match as of right now.
Yeah, but we're one pay-per-view out from it.
And we still have a pay-per-view. And that's something that Dave and I talked about last week. We remember the days when, after Royal Rumble, you did not have a pay-per-view before WrestleMania. It was just straight through. You might have a couple of monumental Raws, but you didn't see a pay-per-view. Now, you got these two pay-per-views, Elimination Chamber and Fastlane, that seem to get in the way. So it seems like it takes away from the excitement of WrestleMania a little bit because, you got to wait. There's just something about it that it leaves something to be desired.
I might be in the minority here, but I'm one of the few people that actually likes the Elimination Chamber, like as a yearly event, because it's just so unique to the WWE.
Right.
And it is a big way to get somebody over without giving them the briefcase.
Yeah.
It's like another opportunity to build a star out of something that is totally WWE unique. And
Look at Kofi Kingston.
Yeah, and I really do like how they used how Sami Zayn has been like turning this into a whole conspiracy against him on social media.
He's fantastic.
Where he's like, have you ever seen anybody get pulled out from behind? This has never happened. I'm like, oh man, see, like they could tell so many stories just off of Elimination Chamber. If they do it right, they'll be good.
Right.
Not everyone's going to be a winner or every story coming out of this, but
right.
I'm probably one of the few people that's like, hey, this is an important pay-per-view because the event, I guess you could move it to like a SummerSlam or something.
That's my thing. I like Elimination Chamber. I think it's a fun event. It's the fact that it gets between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. But then again, you add it to another event. Well, then it kind of gets overshadowed.
It overshadows that event.
And it overshadows that event. So, it's a catch-22 with that. But
I think it just, again, this always just depends on how you view it. And as you were saying that, I was kind of agreeing with you. The only thing that really stuck out to me, though, is that, hey, so Royal Rumble really is the true build to WrestleMania because whoever wins that, yes, they're being set up for a push, but they might have a really big push. Like they might have the ultimate push.
Right.
With Elimination Chamber, you can win it and not necessarily be in line for the title. Just you won this huge event. There's something else offshooting to it, but it is a marquee win at a marquee event. I kind of feel it's like the fans. It's for the true wrestling fan and the true, like, this is your chance for your favorite wrestler to make their mark. It's usually going to be at this event. So that's, right. For me, it does have a good timing. I can deal with maybe one pay-per-view in between, but two is just a little much.
Right. And we've talked about it before. Look, WWE is looking to create content. They've got to fill that time. If it was the only thing in between, I'd be okay with it. But then you're having to fit this in, and then Fastlane, which, And was it last year or year before they did not do Fastlane? It was recent.
I'm pretty sure
they skipped a year.
It had to have been last year just because of the pandemic.
It might have been. So. But all in all, so Miz is your new WWE champion.
Now, have they said that WrestleMania going to be a 1 day or 2 day event this year?
It's 2 days.
It's going to be another 2 day event.
They've already marketed it. It's April 10 and 11.
Really, another 2 day event.
It's going to be 2 days, and they're going to be at Raymond James
Stadium,
the home of the Bucks.
The norm from now on?
No, because remember when they announced the next 3 WrestleManias. So they announced this one, which will be 2 days in Tampa, but next year at Jerry World and the following year at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles or Inglewood.
Yeah, because they go Hollywood.
It's just 1 day. So
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if it's a matter of maybe they're hopeful that, and this was something, who was it that I was talking to? Dan Cialana from ESPN San Antonio. We were talking about how I think what they're hoping for, they know they're hoping to have limited fans in Raymond James Stadium for this one.
Well, yeah.
Probably about the same as what we saw at the Super Bowl. I think they had, 25,000 for the Super Bowl.
Why not just give the tickets to first responders and doctors and nurses and first online people?
Because the WWE's not as charitable as the NFL. That's why. But I think
they're the ones that said the best marketing
never
is
mind
charity.
that though. So we'll have limited crowd for this one. I think what they're hoping for, which is why this probably looked really good to Jerry Jones, is that their first full-blown sell every seat, hang them from the rafters, big event is going to be at the Death Star at AT&T Stadium.
Well, I don't know what they can put on in a couple of years, but I am not sitting in the nosebleed section for 7 hours again.
No.
And I'm sorry. Look, I like Triple H. I like Roman Reigns. I couldn't even remember who was in the main event. That's how
You had to look back at the.
I was bored in the main event. What was the big moment from that show? Was the what match would you say?
Shane and Taker.
That was the big one?
Yeah, because Shane.
Oh, because he took the bump.
Yeah, he took the leap off the Hell in a Cell.
That was the best moment you gave me for that WrestleMania. I want you guys who book this stuff to think about that.
I mean, you look in. So we've got. I don't know if they can see
on.
it. Yeah, you can partially. If you're on YouTube, you can partially see the poster. So I have the WrestleMania 32 poster from AT&T Stadium, and you look at this poster. It was billed as Divas Championship. That's when they decided to switch to. They
Women's
officially called it the
champion.
Women's Championship before the brand split. But you look at this poster, you look and see who all's left. Like Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar. All right, Dean Ambrose is now John Moxley. He's getting ready to defend his IWGP title, and we'll talk about that later. Brock Lesnar, he's still in Canada chopping wood with Rena Mero. Brock Lesnar, whatever you call it, whatever her name's called. AJ Styles and Chris Jericho. Jericho is now doing his great thing in AEW. New Day, League of Nations. The only one left of the League of Nations is Wade Barrett, and he's a commentator on NXT. Well, no, Sheamus.
Oh, Sheamus. I was going to say.
Sorry,
whoa,
Sheamus.
this
And
guy.
we just talked to him. I just talked to him. So Sheamus
Well,
is
there
still
goes
there.
that
I
interview
know.
again.
Sorry, Sheamus. We love you. But yeah, you got Rusev, now Miro, and Alberto Del Rio, who might be in jail before long. And then you've got all these other guys that, So what is WrestleMania going to look like next year? We'll see. I mean, it's even with it being, not too far from us, I'm still going to be a snob and say unless I'm in the press box, I'm not going.
Oh, I mean, there has to be something worth seeing. For me, I mean, my most enjoyable WWE moment as a fan is going to WrestleMania 25 because I had a great seat and I got to see Taker Michaels 1. And it was awesome. And that was just a good show pretty much. But I mean, that was the high point was that match. And the one thing that people tend to forget is that WrestleMania is about spectacle. It's about entertainment value. And
it's an event. It's an event.
Yeah, it's not going to be for the wrestling purists where it's like, oh, you want to see an hour-long match between two guys that can exchange headlocks and go through counters? This is not the time for that.
This is not Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
No, not even close. I would say that the following year, WrestleMania 33 in Orlando was 10 times better than that one because you had the Hardy Boys coming back.
Oh, they got a great pop that night, yeah.
and a lot of us saw them the night before lose the Ring of Honor tag titles to the Young Bucks in that great ladder match.
Oh, I would have loved to have seen Rousey.
That was Rousey wasn't here yet. Was she? No, because she didn't debut till 34 in New Orleans.
But I'm just saying, like, those type of moments, they
Right.
didn't give us that
You
in
had
Dallas.
Roman Reigns and Undertaker, where everybody thought Undertaker was going to retire. Trying to think of who else happened that. It was Seth Rollins beats Brock Lesnar. There's a couple others.
Is that after the cash-in? No, that's California.
No, that was California.
But see, again, all these other moments from these other WrestleManias, that I feel that they just kind of dropped the ball with Dallas. There just wasn't anything to me that was like, I'm here, but
honestly, the more exciting part of being up in Dallas were all the other events that I got to go to. Ring of Honor did Supercard of Honor night 1. Got to sit in the little ballroom for like 3 hours before bell time, thanks to Ray Rowe, now Eric.
Yeah.
The Parade of Champions that David Fuller did for IHW and the NWA. What else did we do? Hall of Fame, of course. Chad and I were at the Hall of Fame. And I couldn't remember which hotel. Jimmy Garvin told me we were going to go have drinks with him.
What, you missed the party?
I couldn't remember which hotel they told me.
You're the Boy Scout. Don't you just write it down?
It's just silly. I was young. So anyway.
I'm sorry. I call you Boy Scout, Eagle Scout, but still,
it's silly.
You know how to tie a knot.
I know how to tie a knot, know how to save water, and build a fire. So let's see. What else? Anything else stand out from we know Edge and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania?
But I was going to say, let me reel it back, though, because considering what happened last year during the pandemic and everybody was discussing should they, shouldn't they, shouldn't they, and actually, to me, it turns out I'm glad that they put on the show because it ended up being a really memorable WrestleMania, and they came away with some really great moments out of that.
But was it memorable because of the wrestling, or was it memorable because it was
both
in a COVID pandemic?
Both,
and it was because the matches outside of the two cinematic matches, the Boneyard match, the Firefly Funhouse match, Drew McIntyre beating Brock Lesnar for the title,
which was amazing. Except there was no crowd. That part sucked, but I mean the match was good. It was exactly how it should have been. And then Kevin Owens taking the type of risk that he was taking when there was no crowd. I mean, to do those things when there's no crowd there.
There was some good stuff.
It is so difficult to perform like that.
What else? Let's see. What else happened at
and then Asuka. Asuka was like the MVP. That's why I just don't want to discount what they were able to do last year.
Right.
And that's why I always expect them to put out something good.
Let's get back to this year. Speaking of Asuka, no Asuka match at Chamber because, Lacey Evans is now pregnant. So they just said, nah, no more. I guess that was the Sasha and Bianca versus Shayna and Nia. I guess that was to fill that slot.
I'm okay with that, though. I know a lot of people are really upset online, on social media.
I'm not upset, but they could have just left that off too and made it even a little bit shorter because that match did nothing. It did nothing that couldn't have been done on SmackDown.
Well, every show needs a filler match too.
No, not necessarily.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, they ended at 2.5 hours to begin with. So I
understand
for that.
But not every show can have like bangers out, 5-star, 4-star bangers one right after the other. The crowd needs a chance to breathe.
Now, they made the change on the U.S. title triple threat. During the pre-show, they announced Keith Lee was out due to injuries. Although, as I recall, Riddle got attacked and he bounced back, and he won the title. But pre-show, you had John Morrison defeat Ricochet, Mustafa Ali, and Elias in a fatal four-way. Led to him being in a triple threat with Lashley and Riddle. Riddle pins Morrison to become the U.S. champion. I hope Keith is okay. I have my suspicions. I'm not going to voice them, but I just hope he's okay. We did see Mia Yim on Raw or Reckoning. By the way, I love New Day's reaction to seeing her. I love the New Day. Never get rid of the New Day. Otherwise, there wasn't much else to talk about. I tell you what, let's take a quick break.
You on the show?
Huh?
On Raw?
No, on Elimination Chamber.
Oh,
we'll talk
okay.
about the other stuff. We're going to talk about that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk what happened on SmackDown and on Raw. Actually, it'll probably be more on Raw. But we'll talk whatever. We'll talk about it next on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. All right. Number 2. Hold on. Let's do this. I know what I want to do. Because we're going to split it up into 4 segments instead of 3. So let's do... Because I'm pretty sure I have not played this one in a while. So let's rejoin with this. There we go. All right, here we go.
It's the mayor of Slamtown, WWE superstar John Morrison, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling podcast and YouTube only this week. Stu Myrick, Justin the Smash Simmons. So now that Miz is WWE champion, should John Morrison split off and go on a singles run?
No, he should totally Brutus the Barber Beefcake this.
Okay, explain what you mean by Brutus the Barber Beefcake this.
He was Hogan's best friend, so he would be able to get into the main event scene by proxy.
Okay.
This guy ended up, if you recall, headlining Starrcade 94. Yeah, take a little walk back and think about it, but it happened.
Starrcade 94.
Starrcade 94. It was Hogan versus the Zodiac in the main event for the WCW title.
Really? I
Yeah,
have to go back and
Ed
remember
Leslie, his best friend, was that guy.
I got to watch that back.
But they also were a tag team in WWF as well, where
True. They tagged together.
Brutai and Hogan. So I think it can have a similar aspect if he just sticks around Morrison and then or Morrison sticking around the Miz, and obviously you could have that natural blow off.
Right. All right. So the next question is, all right, so Miz is scheduled to defend the WWE Championship against Bobby Lashley next week on Raw. Do we see a title change? Or does Miz hold on to it at least to Fastlane?
Yeah, I don't see it changing hands on Raw. It doesn't make any sense to me, especially since WrestleMania is all about spectacle. And as good as Bobby Lashley has been, he's not going to get the casual eyes on the product like Miz could, because he still has that thing with Bad Bunny going. And that thing is still, like on social media, that thing is still kind of going to where people are still talking about the possibilities of Bad Bunny possibly wrestling The Miz for the WWE Championship a la David Arquette. Now, they're not saying that he's going to win it, but there is a possibility of him being featured near the WWE title.
Let's put it this way. Tony Khan would love if they put Miz and Bad Bunny in a title match, because people will turn that off in a New York second.
I don't think as many.
What are you going to do? You're going to put the title on Bad Bunny? No.
Why not?
I don't care if it's a spectacle. I don't care. You will lose fan. Look at what happened to WCW when they did that to David Arquette.
Yeah, but it's a different time. This is
it's going to be even worse. There's no way on God's green earth they're going to do that. I have a sneaky suspicion that Miz will make it to Fastlane. Then something's going to happen. my guess would be Lashley versus Drew at Mania. That way Drew gets his WrestleMania moment in front of fans. That would seem to be a bigger draw. They're not doing this. Look, Miz is not, contrary to a lot of belief, from everything I read, Miz is not the draw that everybody thinks he is just because he's got his Miz and Mrs., which I actually don't watch much anymore. He's not that mainstream guy like Hogan and Stone Cold and that.
Well, nobody ever is going to be.
But he's not even close. He's nowhere near it.
Yeah, but he's the closest they got. Like, anytime the WWE needs somebody to fill the PR void for them as an active wrestler, he's their go-to guy.
Yeah, but it's still not going to happen. I mean, I could be wrong, but I really don't think. I would be surprised if Miz has the title come WrestleMania. I'd be really surprised.
I don't want to see the Bobby Lashley Drew matchup. Not for the title at WrestleMania. I feel like
I think Lashley deserves it. He deserves a run. For if nothing else, he has been lights out the last several weeks.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. For sure he deserves the run. He's been really good this past year during the pandemic as well, and he's up to his game. But he is not a Brock Lesnar. Like, star power wise.
Nobody's a Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and that's why.
But Brock's not coming through that door.
We don't know that yet.
Yeah, we do. Come on.
God,
let's not CM Punk him.
Let's just roll up the money.
No. Brock's not coming through that door.
I still think Drew needs to defeat somebody with a little bit more name status than Bobby Lashley to have.
But there's
that
nobody
moment
on the roster right now that has that name status.
And John Cena's off filming a movie, huh?
John Cena's off filming. It's the new Suicide Squad. So Cena's off. Batista's busy being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I know this is going to get a lot of hate. I don't really care about comic book movies. It's fine. I'll watch them at some point.
I'm not a big fan of them, but they make money.
But I understand there's a lot of crossover appeal in the world of pro wrestling and comic books. Totally understandable. I'm just not one of those guys. But I was like, come on. I would rather see John Cena at WrestleMania than in his, I don't know what he's doing in Suicide Squad, but yeah.
Well, it's not so much he couldn't find the time, it's the travel restrictions.
Yeah.
Because he's having going between Canada and the US. So
I know they should have filmed in the US. They should have been, more aware of his possibilities for John Cena.
It's cheaper in Canada to film. That's why a lot of movies get filmed in Canada.
Yeah, I know. I was just being like,
you're being facetious.
Exactly.
You're being that guy.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
No, they should have put this all around John Cena's schedule. They knew this was a possibility.
No.
Who's the biggest star in that movie?
I don't even know who's in the movie.
Exactly. See,
I didn't
either.
even know about the movie until someone they kept talking. John Cena will be at WrestleMania. No, he's busy filming. So,
movies.
Randy Orton got Papa Shango'd.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, okay, sure. Why not? Because let me ask you this. And this is it's gonna creep a little bit into just, I don't know, whatever your faith is. The imagery of Alexa Bliss with the pentagram and the candles and everything, was that a direction WWE should go?
Doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
But then you're probably asking me
yes, and I think it's a little bit of a difference. I grew up a little bit more, I won't say religious, but definitely where those images kind of make you wince, no matter what, and especially on a show that you're marketing to, you definitely want it to stay PG or PG-13.
Yeah,
it was just a little. It was a little like, okay, that might be a little much. But, hey, to each their own.
I was going to say.
It was hilarious. It was hilarious having Orton coughing up the black goo. So.
Well, coming from the viewpoint of growing up through the Attitude Era, where the bra and panty match was
I know
was a everyday thing, and I'm watching this, and my mom comes in and is like, "Hey, what are you watching on TV?" I'm like, "Wrestling."
I know it's
a little
softcore porn.
I was gonna say, doesn't like Pentagon Jr. have something similar like on his head? Hence why he's named Pentagon Jr. It's almost like the same shape. He's like muerte. He's like dead.
I don't know.
It's like those type of features.
But he's
are
not
in pro wrestling.
But he's not sitting in a pentagram trying to conjure up a dead spirit.
Vampiro, he had that on his tights.
Yeah,
and then there was
Vampiro
aspects,
doesn't wrestle anymore.
and there was aspects of it during the Accolade period, and the Undertaker when he was Ministry of Darkness. There was all sorts of illusions.
Yeah, I mean, well, and again, in
a
lot of that was kind of like.
I mean, now when Vince McMahon
decided
to go against God,
years ago,
that was a little.
Yeah.
A little much, but no, I mean, like,
we're gonna see. Well, it's not a big deal. Whatever. I think the point is, it looks like.
Was it a big deal when Papa Shango did it the first time? When he was making people's boots on fire and people were called
like when Ultimate Warrior was having
vomiting blood,
yeah,
or black mole, whatever it was.
I don't know. I think the point is, it looks like we're going down the road where we will see a crispy, half-burnt Fiend at WrestleMania against Orton. I suspect that's where where this is going. Which, sure,
maybe he just has a new mask.
If that's all he has, this will be like having Randy Orton show up. He showed up on Raw one week with the mask, and you could see his face was red. And he had the one shot he's standing with Alexa, and the face has got all the burns. And the next week, it magically healed.
Oh, I mean, like a legit, like new Fiend mask, like completely different design, maybe with different scarring and stuff to kind of allude to this burn.
Again, sure, whatever.
Well, can I ask you this?
I'm not a fan.
I'm not. It's fine that you're not a fan. I'm not asking about that. But I'm curious as to what you want out of the WWE, because we discussed this a lot, and from the show perspective though, of having like a television
How much does
show.
Vince pay you to shield WWE? I want to see those checks.
I wish he would pay me more, honestly. But if you're looking at it, I'm not saying that it's good TV, but theoretically, like if you're building a show like a suspenseful soap opera, all these random events that have been adding up, that the execution isn't there storyline wise, I mean, like, hey, that sounds like a unique idea. That, hey, there's this undead weird puppet dude that has control of this girl that is like in between, trying to teeter between being immoral and good, and she's kind of caught in between because she might be brainwashed in a undying unnatural cult, but we don't know that yet. So I mean, like, that's interesting.
Don't know. We really don't know what's going on there. No, it's not interesting. It's one of those things. I just watch it and laugh because it's just it's in the realm of the absurd.
Well, I mean,
it's hard.
Pro wrestling's always a little absurd.
A little, yes. This is way beyond a little. This is just. I don't have words for it. It's just.
What's worse, this or the Yeti?
This, because it's gone on a whole lot longer than the Yeti.
I don't know.
I got to meet the Yeti, so he's a nice guy.
Yeah, but they repackaged the Yeti, and they tried to make that thing work. They repackaged him into like Super Ninja, Super Destroyer.
But the Yeti itself didn't last but a couple weeks.
Well, they tried to
This
make
has
it work.
been going on since, when was the Inferno match? Was it Survivor Series? So since November?
Yeah, and I don't get me wrong. Obviously, it's been like
look, we spend way okay. Let's keep going because we spend way too much time on stuff like this. Okay, question: will Charlotte turn on Asuka, or will Asuka turn on Charlotte? Somebody's turning heel.
Maybe, but it might not happen at all now, just because it looked like she was supposed to be the one that was supposed to be focusing, but now her focus should be back.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe Asuka turns heel on Charlotte because she's tired of all the drama.
Who was the champion on SmackDown? Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks. And it's probably going to be Bianca Belair taking on Sasha as the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble.
I mean, the problem is that it doesn't matter because both Asuka and Charlotte are both very capable of being either face or heel or tweener and getting over. It just, I don't know if they take the title off of her, I think would be the more important question, just because she's been having such a strong run, but all good things must come to an end.
Right.
And when you do have Charlotte available, she is still the most marketable female on the roster that isn't Becky Lynch.
Which is why you probably don't turn her heel. Another reason why you don't turn her heel right now.
Yeah, but I mean, she is a really good heel.
It would be like putting Roman Reigns out there right now. Roman Reigns is easily their biggest heel. So you're not going to have him show up all of a sudden to, do PR and I still, as much as I love the fact he still works with kids with leukemia and stuff, the human in me appreciates it. The wrestling fan in me goes, okay, why do you have a guy that everybody boos show up with a bunch of kids? But again, that's the kind of, it goes to the whole, this isn't a wrestling deal. This is a TV show.
Oh, and kids, they pick their
I still
favorites
say
regardless.
I still say they should run credits afterwards. Roman Reigns played by Joe Anoa'i, something like that.
Ooh, I think that'd be a little too much. I mean,
that way.
what was it? Didn't WCW used to run credits like executive producer and all this stuff like after their shows?
Well, yeah, but they didn't. No, I'm talking about cast. They should run cast credits.
Yeah.
Too. WCW didn't do that. Yeah, you would see like who were the backstage, and yeah, you'd see Virgil Runnels as a executive producer. Unless you were a deep wrestling fan, you didn't know Virgil Runnels was Dusty Rhodes. So, we mentioned Cesaro. Got close again, but no cigar again. Cesaro has said recently that he did think about it for a moment about leaving WWE, but he's enjoying his career. So, but the fans are eventually going to just say, look, we're going to stop investing in him because you're not going to do anything with him. He's always going to be a secondary guy, which, whatever.
I think they're just grooming him to be the next Daniel Bryan. To have the same story. To have the similar arc.
Problem is, okay, but again, you're making that sound like Cesaro is the second coming of Daniel Bryan. Cesaro's been in WWE longer than Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't just get a WWE championship run overnight with some of those guys. I mean, look.
Overnight?
Yeah, look how long.
How long has he's never had a WWE championship run?
I know. You don't just get those things just because you've been doing good work for 10 years. It might come eventually. Ask Mark Henry.
Mark Henry got one before Cesaro did.
Yeah, but he was a company man.
I know he
Undertaker,
was. I love Mark to death.
Miz, obviously, Kofi Kingston. Like, if you hang in there for the most part, and I mean, you really have to hang in there and go through all the BS in order to be because remember, they put Mark into some silly angles.
Oh, I know. Believe me, he and I have talked about this.
So I think Cesaro is one of those guys that they know that they can depend on, and if he's willing to kind of
he is dependable. I'll give him that.
If he's willing to kind of wade through the muck a little bit more, he might end up with that championship when it's all said and done.
Yeah, the problem is we've been saying that for a while and it hadn't happened.
But would you not be happy when it does happen?
Sure, I'll be happy. I'll also be saying, what took you so long? It should have happened 5 years ago, at least.
I don't know about 5 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, I do.
You think 5 years ago?
Yes, easily. Remember pre-COVID when we would have fans in the arena and you'd have the whole section of fans with the Cesaro section sign?
Yeah, that's
okay,
and that's good. I mean, that was a good natural reaction for him because he was starting to build. And yes, the pandemic.
But we know natural reactions don't matter in WWE
unless
it's whatever makes Vince happy.
Well, unless it's something like Daniel Bryan's Yes Movement. Now you can get the whole arena holding Cesaro section signs, then you know that he'll be in line for the title.
Still,
and until that moment happens, we're going to be talking the same story.
And it's sad. because I think he deserves better. So we're going to take a quick time out. After the break, we'll switch gears, talk some AEW, talk Ring of Honor, a few other things. Coming up next, Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. All right, let's do this one now.
This is Ring of Honor superstar One Punch Shane Taylor, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
I don't dress the way you like, I don't look the way you like, but I fight the way I like.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling podcast and YouTube only this week. Stu Myrick, Justin the Smash Simmons. Happy 19th anniversary to Ring of Honor Wrestling.
Wow.
It was on this date in 2002 they held their first event at, I forget the name of the rec center, somewhere in the Northeast. 19 years later, still going.
You know what's going to happen. Kerry's going to tweet at you now exactly where
He will.
it was.
He will, and I hope he will. If Kerry's, it's 8:45 here, so it's 9:45 p.m. Eastern. He might. We love Kerry. And I need to get him on soon. But anyway, yeah, happy 19th anniversary of Ring of Honor. Of course, they've got their 19th anniversary pay-per-view coming up March 26th. We'll see what happens. You just heard Shane Taylor. Congratulations to Shane Taylor Promotions. Shane Taylor and the Soldiers of Savagery. They are now the new Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team Champions, defeating Mexa Squad, Bandito, Flamito, and Rey Horus. Plus, next week, speaking of talking about getting title shots, Shane Taylor goes after the world title. He faces Roosh next week on Ring of Honor TV. So good luck to he is Cleveland's own, but we'll say Houston's own, Shane Taylor.
Yeah, but I mean, like, this is a guy that's put in all the work. We've seen it. Remember, he dropped all the weight. He got in great physical shape. He's really put his gimmick together over the last couple of years.
He's busted his tail and couldn't be happier for him.
Yeah, glad to see him in the main event picture.
Absolutely. AEW. Here's something Vince would never do. So last week on Dynamite, John Moxley, he's standing tall. Then all of a sudden gets beat up by the Good Brothers. Here comes Kenny Omega in some of the worst looking boots. Those boots, oh my God, he must have walked off a Paris runway with those.
I was okay with the boots.
Anyway, he says he will give Moxley a rematch for the title. It will be at Revolution. It will be an exploding barbed wire match. Whew. Now, Dave and I both said last week that we may have to find our way down to Jacksonville. I'm probably not going to find my way to Jacksonville for that, but still. Moxley versus Kenny Omega in a exploding barbed wire match. That's going to be something to behold.
Yeah, I am interested to see the execution of the match.
Yes.
But may I ask?
Yes.
Like, obviously, I think I know where most wrestling fans would stand on this type of match, especially those that have really liked the product for a really long time. But when you have a match of this type of magnitude, does it help or does it hurt draw in new viewers? Just because I've seen this style match before and it can be quite gruesome, and there is a limit to how much somebody that's not familiar with the product is willing to take on something. And like you just mentioned a couple of segments ago with the pentagram, I thought that's a little thing.
Yeah.
But for some people, that's way too much.
Right.
And, for me, somebody has their head split open and then gets blown up on something. That's just a little thing because I've seen pro wrestling. But for some people, that's going to be too much.
I get you. I totally get what you're saying. I think the difference here is we're talking on a pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. So your casual fans aren't likely going to be watching it. We're talking. You're going to get your hardcore AEW fans.
Well, obviously, but
they're into this.
Yeah. This is what they
so
want.
will it attract casual fans? Probably not, but again, that's why they're putting it on pay-per-view, not on Dynamite. If it was on Dynamite, then I would be going, okay, is this a smart move? But you're on pay-per-view, so it's not quite a big of a deal. It's going to be. We know it's going to be bloody, knowing the inspirations that both Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley are going to be drawing from.
Yeah.
The stuff from Japan and everything. This is going to be something you don't see usually in I'll call it a major American promotion.
Exactly.
You'll see it on the indies. In fact, Heavy Metal Wrestling in San Antonio, they do this stuff. GCW, Joey Janela's promotion, they'll do this stuff. But you don't see it. You wouldn't see it in an AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact, MLW. I don't know if you'd see the exploding part. We saw the what was the?
And I mean, you can say
the
that
War Chamber match.
Yeah, and I mean, WWE has put people on fire. Just recently.
But you're not going to combine explosions with barbed wire. That's not on WWE. No, you're not going to You're not going to see that. Inferno matches, again, that's different. It's just fire, and it's still a regular ring, but you're basically taking C4, and then you're going to wrap the ring in barbed wire. That's a whole new level.
Is that what they're saying? No ropes? Is barbed wire ropes, or is it barbed wire ropes?
I don't know if it's going to be barbed wire ropes. I would assume there's going to be barbed wire on the ropes at least. I don't think they'll take the ropes down and replace it with barbed wire.
Because that's the match I think that they're, for the inspiration, I would imagine that's what they were trying to emulate. Like, it has to have the most visceral scene, which would be no ropes, all barbed wire.
Funk Cactus Jack from All Japan, that type of thing. So, our best wishes go to Anna Jay. Anna Jay sidelined with a dislocated shoulder. She is out possibly 6 to 12 months. Sad to see that because she was definitely on the rise. Hopefully she could still be on, whether it's BTE or Dynamite or something, as that sideline person that can still be a part of the Dark Order, but she has definitely made herself into a star.
Yeah, I mean, she really got herself over, and it's sad because the AEW women's division was still looking for new superstars, or at least people to kind of start filling up the card to make it more of a viable option. That fans, and the fans have gotten on them about wanting to see more, but they need to have those participants, and she was looking to be a key piece of that. And it's just a little tragic that this happened, but hopefully she'll be able to recover. But, man, the shoulders are always tricky because once you separate it once, it's always more likely to happen again.
Yeah, you're right. So, again, our best wishes go to 99 of the Dark Order. We mentioned Moxley. He's got a busy I think he's on Dynamite tomorrow. And then Friday night, he defends his IWGP United States title against KENTA on NJPW Strong on NJPW World. Does Moxley walk out still the champion, or does KENTA get it?
That's tough. Because
I'm leaning KENTA.
I mean, I think everybody wants to see KENTA win it just because of the whole, if you're a pro wrestling fan, you understand, he left on the top of his game to go to America thinking he was going to be the next big thing. It didn't happen. Injuries, never got his footing in the WWE. And now he's back and people are excited. I don't know if his stock is going to be any higher than it is right now. You would think this would be the time to capitalize, and given the booking situations in New Japan, usually they're good about that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, and I'll put a practical note on this. Jon Moxley's about to become a daddy. Renee Paquette is at home. She's getting close to giving birth. So my guess would be that they take the title off of him. That way, it'll be easier for him to take time off to be with Renee and their new child and their new baby when he or she is born.
Wow.
They haven't announced the gender yet.
So you think?
So
you think like this exploding barbed wire match is kind of like the write-off for him, so he can take that break?
For a little bit, I could see it.
Man, I hate to say that, but now I'm like, oh, now I just think it's so one-sided. It's all like now, it's kind of like knowing the ending of the movie, and it's just like, okay, is the performance going to be as good as I expect it to be?
I have not heard anything.
Oh, I'm not. Putting it on you.
That's the thing. I haven't even heard a rumor. I'm putting two and two together, and it's not coming out potato.
Yeah, and when you said it, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And looking at the way it's all, they book these things in advance, hopefully, most of the time, when there's no pandemic.
Let me ask you this, because we talked, Dave and I talked about this last week. The Forbidden Door seems to be opening more and more. First, we had Kenta showing up on Dynamite. Now we've got David Finlay and Juice Robinson on Impact Wrestling. And I heard an interview with Brian Alvarez and Mike Sempervive on Wrestling Observer Live. They were interviewing Tony Khan, the president and CEO of All Elite Wrestling, who basically said, look, yes, this door is open. There are going to be more surprises. Now, you got to mitigate that some because, again, traveling between Japan and the U.S. is still very limited because of the pandemic and everything. But as that starts to loosen up, he says, we will probably see some more surprises.
I can't.
So now
him.
you've got kind of this almost a triangle with AEW, Impact Wrestling, and New Japan.
Yeah, that's a mighty alliance. And sometimes, given the way that the world of pro wrestling has kind of been cut out in the last, ever since AEW came on the scene, that just gave more power to those guys that, hey, there's a national promotion that has national viability and a national time slot on national cable TV.
On a real cable.
Yeah,
channel.
it's like if we can get some of our stars on that television show, that's just good for the business as a whole.
Absolutely.
So AEW obviously holds all the cards because they're the ones that can determine when they want to continue, if they decide not to continue these type of relationships. But I think it's good for pro wrestling as a whole, and it's good excitement just because you just never, if you
turn on Dynamite and all of a sudden here comes Okada.
Yeah, you get to watch it with a little kayfabe gleam there where it's just like, what? He doesn't wrestle here. What is he doing here? And like that's still pretty cool because it's just like that is totally unexpected. And that's when pro wrestling's at its best.
I had to laugh because, I could see it where you get more promotion. The NWA is sadly probably not long for this world because they haven't been able to do anything. You've got your two top female names now with AEW in Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa. I haven't seen Nick Aldis on a card since I think he defended his title back in like September,
like an independent show.
Yeah, it's been an independent shows.
Now that is a shame because he was putting in some of his best work of his career, and he was an awesome champion.
I agree. I absolutely
agree.
He
needs to be somewhere because he just had the look and he was wrestling like a NWA champion.
And I could see where that could be added into this mix. You feel bad for Ring of Honor because they're the ones that were supposed to have the relationship with New Japan, but we haven't seen it, which, okay, fine.
And they're the ones that really kind of gave homes to a lot of their stars that are currently their top guys.
Yes. Yeah.
And kind of help them develop their characters in a much better light than the way that Impact did.
Yeah. One of the things, it almost seems like if you didn't know better, it almost seems like it's going to end up being WWE versus everybody. And everybody's going to be at least loosely together.
Yeah, I think it's kind of been like that, though, since the 1980s. It's always been WWE versus everybody else at this point, just because when they took over, they solidified themselves, except for that one little period in the Monday Night Wars. Other than that, they've been the top promotion in the United States.
Well, and I would say even kind of in the early 90s, because of the steroid scandal and that sort of thing. Plus, they didn't really have any really big stars. Yeah, they were probably losing some ground to
Turner.
I guess it was WCW at that time.
Yeah, because that's at the end of the AWA USWA merger. Basically,
Right.
that was the big blow off because Von Erich's done at that point.
Right. So
And then you had no AWA anymore either.
yeah, AWA folded, and then there wasn't really another national promotion left.
No.
So that's why I'm wondering if this could end up being. And I saw it's so funny. I had to laugh, and I don't know who who put this out there, but obviously there was a lot of dream booking. Could you see? I saw somebody actually ask the question. Could you see AEW and WWE working together?
If the money's right.
No, no.
But I hate to say it like this,
It's
but
not going to happen. They wouldn't even do it with TNA or Impact.
I mean, you never say never in pro wrestling, right? And I'm not saying that's going to happen next week or next year, but maybe 20 years down the road, if everything is still the way it is, you never know.
After Vince dies, maybe?
You just never know, right? But the WWE holds so many more cards just because they have the biggest contracts, because they have not just the public network contract with Fox, which is going to have to be reevaluated at due time. But that Peacock contract is really going to be I think,
Universal,
a big game changer, as in the way that you view professional wrestling as a true. Because for us, it's always been niche. It's just one of those things where it's like, it's entertaining, but it's not. It's its own
not
category.
mainstream.
Yeah.
Now you're going to see WWE Network, the same place you watch Friends and The Office,
Your Premier League football,
Premier League, that type of thing.
you're
going to see it there.
Yeah,
on Peacock, part of NBC Universal.
So all those people that want the Office reruns in the United States that can only be watched on Peacock are going to get the service, and they're going to have access to WWE Network. So there's a minute chance that 38-year-old single dude that's my age that hasn't watched wrestling since high school comes across it and it's just like, hey, I'm going to check this out. I might like this and stick around.
Go watch an old Saturday Night's Main Event, or
old pay-per-view, an old WrestleMania X7,
Yeah,
just to kind of get lost in the sauce.
I could see that, yeah.
And
sure.
I think that's what they're hoping for.
That's the thing. It's not just that. WWE's been around for
it's a brand.
However long. It's I guess. See, this would be. It's 2021, so we're talking at least 60, 70 years.
That's a lot of history.
Including 40 of it on national TV somewhere.
Either you grew up watching it on Saturday mornings, or you saw it Monday nights.
Whereas we just mentioned Ring of Honor, 19 years old.
Yeah, and that seems like a lifetime.
TNA Impact, 19 years old. AEW, 2 years old. And if you're thinking, on TV, a year and a half. Not even a year and a half. Major League Wrestling, again, 17, I think, years old.
In the WWE, it's like the NFL, and it's that they have all that tradition, they have all those callbacks, and that's what makes them so hard to beat, because the casual person will always know what they are, because they're going to be like, Hulk Hogan, oh yeah, I remember. WrestleMania, Cyndi Lauper, got it. Andre the Giant, totally remember. Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, classic superstars, and nostalgia is strong.
And they've got all the archives, so even if like, someone that watched Mid-South Wrestling back in the day, they can pull up the WWE Network and watch when Ted DiBiase pre-$1 Million Man, when he was still part of the Rat Pack. Or you can see, Hacksaw Butch Reed, who we just lost a few weeks ago, see him, battling everybody as the North American champion. So interesting talk, though. I mean, and it's interesting to see him. We'll see what happens. I mean, it does seem New Japan, now that they're under new management, seems they want to open up. They understand that they need some eyes on, from the U.S. They've got to do something more than this Roku channel.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of like, because I know what the Roku channel is, but I might be one of 5 people.
I was like, I don't have access to that. So I'm like, I'm glad that they're putting the effort, but is it going to be worth it?
You hope they find, And apparently Access TV is still open to bringing them back, which at least that's better than the Roku channel.
Yeah.
You know, Access TV doesn't have the greatest clearance, but
but they have some major systems still, and like they can use some programming besides the music docs and videos that they put on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just put them right back where they were and have it do the whole, you know, wrestling block, you know, Impact and then New Japan.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll let you know what's happening in independent wrestling this week and a couple other nuggets. You're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
I am not a nugget.
Damn it, I'm not a nugget. Oh, man. All right, last one. Let's see. Where am I at? Okay, here we are.
You know it's the Mac Militant coming to get it on.
Hey, what's up, players? This is WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long, and you're listening to the Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, and they always keep it real. Holla.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling podcast, YouTube only this week. Stu Myrick, Just the Smash Simmons. It was so good to see Teddy Long a couple weeks ago at SW Fury. We had a nice little chat. Good to see him.
Who else did you see?
That's right. We haven't seen each other since then. Well, let's see. Jack Stain, of course. Mm-hmm. You know, he and I finally got to meet Crimson. First time we
nice. Okay, so that did come to fruition.
Yeah, so got to meet Crimson. Really good dude.
Who's taller, him or Jack Stain? Like, who's the bigger dude? Because those are two big dudes.
Jax is bigger. Crimson is a little bit taller.
Okay.
So, and Jax looks fantastic, and he's happy. You can see the happiness in his face. So, couldn't be happier. Saw our good friend Nigel Rapid.
Oh yeah, it's been a while.
He has suit jackets done with his Rabbit Empire emblem.
Oh, that's cool.
Embroidered on the back. They were very nice.
Very cool.
I had to give him credit for that. Mark Henry, of course, and just mentioned him. He and I sat in the along the autograph line. We sat at those tables and watched the card, you know, and he and I just sat there and chit-chatted about this, that, and the other, and whatever.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so it was good to see Mark, of course. Who else? Saw, of course, Kevin Sullivan. Saw our good friend, the Reinforcer, Andrew Anderson. He was there.
I haven't seen that dude in like a couple of years now.
He was there. Who else?
Probably one of the best dudes I know on the scene.
And so good to see him. Guy. I felt bad because he was going. I think he got stuck because of the weather in New Jersey. He had like a flight canceled or something.
Oh, I'm sure.
So he had to stay in Dallas-Fort Worth for a little bit. Met Sue Young.
Oh, really?
Yes. Took a great picture. It's on Instagram where she's trying to pull me down into the undead realm. Pull the curtain back. She couldn't be sweeter. Very nice. Who else did we see? Christy James, of course, she was there. Rodney Mack, of course, see him a lot. Who else was there? I'm drawing a blank.
I don't know, man.
But there was a lot of people that we've gotten to know. Moonshine Mantell was there, of course. Had a chat with him. You know, he lives in Kansas City now, so
yeah, he still stayed in the Midwest.
So, but he's doing well.
I'm thinking that's going to be
Fly Def was there.
I was going to say for Moonshine, I'm still a little perplexed. I keep on thinking he's going to be one of those guys that was going to get picked up here.
You would think.
Just because of his look, the size, that he's had some success at some bigger indie promotions. I really thought he was overdue, so maybe we'll see in another year or two.
I thought he was too. We've got some independent wrestling this weekend that we got to tell you about. And then we're going to start with SW Fury because they're going to be back with East Texas WrestleFest this Saturday at the Carthage Civic Center in Carthage. Meet and greet starts at 2 p.m. Bell time is 6:30 p.m. Check out this lineup. Terry Funk will be there. Teddy Long, who we just mentioned. Mark Henry, who we just mentioned. Lacey Von Erich, the daughter of the late, great Kerry Von Erich, will be there. Mil Moretes will be there. Selena Del Renta, and more. That's SW Fury this Saturday in Carthage. Hurricane Pro Wrestling presents The Show, Saturday at Ford Park in Beaumont. Bell time 7 p.m. Ruthless Ryan Davidson will be there. Shane Taylor, Maddie Rinkowski, Jordan Grace, and more. That's Hurricane Pro Wrestling this Saturday in Beaumont. New Texas Pro Wrestling presents Astro World Saturday at the Houston Premier Arena. Gino Medina, Chris Bay, Mysterious Q, Rachel Rose, and Burt Vixen will be there. That's New Texas Pro Wrestling this Saturday in Houston. And then AAPW presents Back to Business this Saturday night at the AAPW Arena, 1702 Aldridge, Suite B here in Austin. Bell time 8 p.m. Steve Areno, Lucha Legion, Leroy Brown, Lawrence Patello, and more. That's AAPW this Saturday right here in the beautiful ATX. All these shows will be adhering to COVID-19 protocols, so wear your mask, be safe, but if you feel so inclined, support the independent wrestling.
And there's some pretty strong lineups. We were just talking about SWE Fury's lineup. I mean, I'm really impressed with the Hurricane Pro lineup. Ruthless Riley Davison, another one of those guys that I feel like, oh, you know, he hasn't gotten his credit just yet for his performances that he's put on.
He was at SW Fury last time.
Okay.
So it was good to give a big old hug from the Bear.
And then of course Gino. I mean, like he was doing some really great stuff in Booker T's promotion.
Well, now of course he's big with MLW.
Yeah. So
Chris Bay is in the X Division title picture with Impact
and Q. Like all those guys have been doing really well, so I mean that's a really strong card to see too. And then on a personal note, I'm happy to see Lawrence Botello. He used to be the referee only, and now he's like in the ring doing his thing.
Well, he's been a referee as recent as like last month, and now he's getting in the ring.
Yeah, I know. He told me he never would do it. Now here he is, you know, competing. So that's really cool.
I'm thrilled for Lawrence. I am so tempted to make Carthage is about.
Oh, you got me
it's
too
about
excited.
5 hours, but I tell you what, I am tempted to head up. That's my neck of the woods. That's East Texas.
You got me too excited. I thought you were going to say, oh, Lawrence was like the catalyst for you getting into the ring and starting your career at this advanced age.
No.
Hey, DDP could do it.
DDP is in much better shape than me, too. So, by the way, speaking of
a good teacher.
Speaking of good friends, Leo Bryan.
Yeah.
One half of the Dirty Blondes. Congratulations to him. He just signed a new long-term deal with Major League Wrestling.
That is awesome, man. Congratulations.
Could not be happier for him. Hope to see him soon. We have had some great times with the Blondes. Our trip to Wichita Falls, the Hall of Fame. So
dude, those were always some really good times. Yeah. And they were like one of the guys I always look forward to seeing because they were just real chill. They like to go out, have a good time.
Yeah.
A little old school, you know?
They are a little old school, and that's the thing. Leo Bryan has that old, the mix of Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen kind of look.
And he's a huge Dusty fan, so
Dusty.
He was always about the bull rope and the scar that Dusty had on his arm. I remember him telling me like, "Oh, I want one similar to it." And I was like, "Well, you stay in the game long enough, I'm sure that you'll get one."
Or just get a tattoo of it. Why not? So, but yeah, huge congratulations to Leo Bryan, and make sure you catch MLW each week on. It's on YouTube. Let's see, I know it's on BN Sports on Saturdays. They just did Filthy Island.
Mm-hmm.
So they filmed a bunch of matches. It looked like it was at Kevin Von Erich's place there on Kauai. So, but yeah, good stuff there. That'll do it for this week, Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. I think we will be back next week on the air, on the horn, and everything. But in the meantime, you can follow Justin Smash Simmons on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at The Smash Simmons. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stu Myrick. That's STEWMYRICK. You can follow the show on Twitter at SGTWATX. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. You can catch us Tuesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central on YouTube TV, or YouTube Live, and you can catch us on the flagship station for the Texas Longhorns, The Horn, Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central on The Horn 104.9 AM 1260, or catch us anytime on demand by going to hornfm.com and click on the On-Air tab, or by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. Make sure you rate us, review us, and share us. For Justin, I'm Stu. Have a great week, and we will see you at the matches.
Goodbye and good night. Bam!
we're done.
We'll see how it turns out for Kenny. Probably wins, but man, I'm interested to see how that
Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You jumped. I was going. So you mean on the exploding barbed wire match?
Yeah. I'm still really I'm just wondering how it's going to be tailored.
I do. I am too.
It's not. It's not an American thing, and it's just
not.
I get that there's a good amount of their fan base that likes this style, but I'm like, man, there's a whole new part of their fan base that's probably never seen this before. So I'm just all American, Japanese taste when it comes to the extensive violence can be a little different.
It can be. By the way, did you see Dynamite last week? They had Dory Funk Jr. in there.
Yes, I thought that was really cool. Yeah,
that was really cool.
I do like how they at least try to take what history is available to him and interject it because, let's admit the WWE has almost a monopoly on everything.
Legends contracts and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good to see Dory. I think his wife was there as well. That was really neat. And we've seen where there's,
but we need to keep on seeing these guys, though, because, you see Ric Flair on TV, and I'm not sure, it looks like he probably won't be on TV anymore for at least a while.
Well, it's it's something we have talked about in our interactions with the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame is that, it's important to engage these guys, if for no other reason, to make sure the stories are out there, so that these stories don't die with the legends. So
yeah, but
it's a huge it's a huge thing that anytime we can engage, and I say we as in the wrestling community, we can engage with these legends and talk to them. Then it's that's and learn the history and learn about why they did things a certain way back in the day. So
yeah, it's like learning how to make a certain style of food that's been passed down through generations. It's like, oh yeah, the recipe's like this. You don't know why it was like that originally. Unless you happen to know the whole story.
That's that one of my biggest regrets when my mom passed away was I didn't know how to make a lot of the stuff that she could make.
Oh yeah, that just tears it.
And it's just trial and error as to okay, you got to figure out this, that, and the other. And so I figured out a couple things, but there's some things that I'll just never be able to do.
Yeah, that's disheartening, man.
Yeah. So stuff like that.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So anyway. All right, well, we're going to get out of here. Again, like I said, we're off the air tomorrow, preempted for Texas baseball. As far as I know, huh?
I was going to say, yeah, they better win.
It's BYU, yeah, and they're 0-3. They were coming out of that series, that tournament they did up at Globe Life Field. So
the one that was on Flow Sports?
Yes. So let's hope they win. You can hear that on the horn tomorrow. We will be back next week. We'll be back here on YouTube Tuesday night. We'll be back on the horn next Wednesday night. Until then, for Just I'm Stu, be safe, be well, and we'll catch you later. Thanks for joining us.